uh, current hazards go, you can see a large portion of the Mississippi Valley up into the northeast are either under extreme heat warnings, heat advisories, extreme heat watch. You can see right here, West Virginia, um, extreme heat warning for parts of New Jersey, with a few flash flood warnings, looks like out here in the upper Midwest, some flood warnings, New Mexico, Colorado, middle part of the country here, and red flag warning out west. But the biggest threat today is heat. And of course, in the southeast, all along the lower southeast coastal states, including Alabama, Florida, there's no heat advisor, at least right now. But heat is building back into the northeast today as well. So this is extended temperature probability outlook from the end of July till the middle of, well, the 8th of August, the 2nd of August, excuse me. These probabilities show greater than average probabilities for higher temps above normal, especially in the deep south, with the probability of temps being below normal higher in the northern tier, the northeast, with a sharp delineation um, right along the mid-Atlantic coast, all the way out to the to Colorado. This is likely due to another push of cooler, drier air with a strong system developing up here in Canada. You go further along. This is the outlook. Good news for the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, maybe even down to North Carolina. Maybe not making it into the deep South, which I wouldn't expect it would this time of year. But you know, this is likely to a wedge type scenario building in, maybe a really strong high pressure system building south during the period. As far as precip goes, during the same period, um, 29th through the 2nd, good chance of above normal chance of precip, a good portion of the country. Same thing in the 31st to the 6th. So quite unsettled for a good portion of the country, of course, in the northern, northeast, northern, upper Midwest, Great Lakes. We have that drier air trying to push in, and so precip chances will be lower. But I'm sure there's going to be some boundaries that'll set up, and we'll look at that next in the extended look at that next. Excuse me, in the overall flow pattern and moisture, things like that. We'll follow up after that with an update on the tropics, severe weather, and the excessive rainfall outlook. This is the mid-level flow water vapor loop. I just want to show you this real quick. We have that drier air at the low level, mid levels, and low levels. These areas in bright orange denote the driest air, and you can see the pocket of this is low level flow, but I want to show you that upper levels. You can see an upper level feature kind of pushing a little bit inland here, with another upper level feature pushing. Almost looks like a boundary right there in the middle of the state here. You have a lot of flow coming, deep flow coming from Mexico all the way up into Canada. The same that can be said off the Gulf Coast here up into Canada. This is all a high pressure system kind of being squeezed here. Anyway, mid levels. Back to that. We have moisture associated with a upper level with a trough that has a low potential to develop in the tropical system. Of course, that moisture at the mid levels and heavy rain moving through these areas. What's going to happen over time? High pressure is going to build back in, and that can be shown on what we have here at the mid levels. You can see this deep flow that we talked about, the mid levels, upper level low off the west coast. Move through in time here. The ridge, mid level ridge, upper level low kind of tries to shift east a little bit. Flow kind of flattens out. Mid level ridge building along the right over top of the southeast, expanding some in scope here. These numbers represent heights, and the higher the number, the higher the heights, which means higher pressure aloft, which, of course, if you look at 850 millibars, which is lower levels, higher pressure at lower levels is not normally like co-located with higher pressure at upper levels. So if you look at this, the upper levels, it's a little bit different here, located different areas. That's just the way the atmosphere works. So anyway, high pressure around our area regardless, and a good portion of the U.S. Move forward in time here. This is a pretty flat ridge with some amplification off the west coast, and we're talking on the 28th. High pressure kind of builds west again. And remember, I talked about the temperatures cooling off potentially um, northeast. See this deep low pressure developing in the Canadian Maritimes, even at the surface uh, towards the end of the month, which is driving southward here. Slowly going to shift east, but going to stay in place for quite a long time. You can see highly amplified flow across the. I'm going to see if I can zoom out a little bit. I don't know if I can get any further out. Let's look at Canada here real quick. Sorry, I'm doing this on the fly. Can't really can't really see that, but you get the idea here. The ridge that kind of holds fast, but a high amplified flow remains in the northeast for a good portion. Well, a good while. Northwest flow aloft slowly gives way to and this is the European ensemble. So this is a mean representation of 51 members, meaning average, where it thinks these features will be. So as we get further out in time, you could see kind of some less granular organization to the structures, which just is because as you get further out in time, uh, you know, certainty is a lot less. And the thing about models and anything else, you start out with 51 model runs and you change initial conditions just a little bit. Each one's going to have a different output. And so as you get further out in time, those differences increase, the spread of the differences because they're just different outputs. So the further in time, certainty becomes a lot less. And normally I don't like to go further than like 10 days, 7 days, because it's really hard to predict after that. But you can get an idea of the general flow, high pressure building out into the west, which is different than it's been lately. So likely increased heat in the west, maybe northwest flow aloft, moving into the deep south, with maybe some potential severe weather in the future up here in the northern tier. Give them this flow right here. But we'll just have to see how that plays out. Overall theme, as we talked about, going through time, you see cool air building into the northeast. It's going to be pretty nice, I think, towards the end of the month up here. Probably unsettled till that pushes through, and eventually it'll warm up again. But um, pretty zonal towards the end of the period here. So not even in the south with this northwest flow aloft, it might be end up being a little bit cooler for this time of year anyway. Next, I'm going to talk about the excessive rainfall outlook, severe weather outlook, and then briefly go over the tropics. And that'll close it out. Severe weather and excessive rainfall. I'm going to go through the outlooks real quickly. Broad area of marginal risk of severe weather today. This is likely till 12Z, which is 8 a.m. or 7 a.m., depending on where you're at, or 6 a.m. if you're on further west. Anyway, So this is a categorical risk, marginal risk for good portion of the through a sliver of the Midwest into the Great Lakes area, upper Midwest, along the Front Range of the Rockies, which is not uncommon. When you have a flow coming over the Rockies, you have the convection that initiates and then comes off, and it rains or you have storms. Not uncommon at all. Tornado chances, none at all today, less than 2%. Hail, this is a 5% hail risk for today. Wind is the biggest driver. Likely in the area here, it's probably driven by the rain-loaded downburst and just off the Front Range of the Rockies, probably due to the steep lapse rates with drier air. Day 2, categorical risk, you have marginal risk in the Northeast, all the way northeast coast up into Maine, North Dakota, parts of Montana, South Dakota. This is driven by, again, no tornado risk outlined right now, less than 2%. Wind, 5%. Hail, 5% only in North Dakota. This is these severe weather outlooks are a lot less. Not going to be a lot going on the next 2 or 3 days, severe weather-wise, thank goodness. And that's not uncommon this time of year either, when you don't have a lot of features interacting with each other. This is mostly driven by heavy rainfall with downburst winds, things like that, and some drier air, and maybe short and perturbations through the flow that we see. So this is your categorical risk, again, for 3 days out, which would be Friday. So you have Montana, parts of Ohio, North Dakota, which is likely driven by a wind and hail risk, and probably in the Chicago area, Wisconsin, Illinois, Kentucky, Ohio, likely driven by wind. And, every day there's going to be thunderstorms in a lot of other areas. So look at excessive rainfall in the coming days. This is the outlook for today. We see we have a flood, a mesoscale discussion here for excessive rainfall. A slight risk, yikes, slight risk. And if you look at the QPF table, you can see what precipitation is expected today, which is upwards of a couple inches, 2 to 3 inches today maybe, and lots of heavy rain along the Gulf Coast. But in the southeast of North Carolina, South Carolina, not a lot expected, but also some in the northeast. Hopefully that might give us some relief in the mid-Atlantic from temperatures too. So we go back to this is a rainfall for day 2. Again, we have a slight risk in the Ohio Valley, Midwest towards the Great Lakes, upper Midwest to the northeast, along the Gulf Coast with that system down here. And again, there's an upper level low out here, which is probably driving this excessive rainfall risk here. If you look at QPF for tomorrow, which is QPF is a precipitation forecast, possibly 2 or 3 inches of rain tomorrow. And of course, most of the rain is going to be offshore as well, with that system, with some chances of rain all along that. As we get further down the road, the boundary sets up and moves southward here. So excessive rainfall day 3. Marginal risk kind of shifts eastward. Again, North Dakota, Northern California, Nevada, and along the Gulf Coast again. And if we look at precipitation forecast, you can see where the highest levels are. Not that impressive, really. Along the Gulf Coast, you may see some heavy rain, but given the marginal risk, it's probably not going to be that bad. And then day 4, um, upper Midwest, Minnesota, slight risk, North Dakota, parts of Wisconsin, marginal risk surrounding it. Of course, the monsoon moving into New Mexico. Monsoon kind of gets cut off because it was like going all the way up into the northern tier, Midwest, not too long ago, and in the Northeast. If we look at QPF, it won't give me QPF for that day. So QPF 2 days out. We'll know more for how much rain, and I'll take a look at that tomorrow in the coming days. And finally, I'm going to go over the tropics next. Tropical tropics hazards outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. So this shows probabilities, what they think might form, changes of formation and precipitation and temperatures, things like that. So what you have here, the 30th through the August 5th, they have a 20% chance of tropical cyclone formation along the Gulf Coast here again. And we'll have to see if that plays out, but you can see how active the Western Pacific is forecast to be, and the Eastern Pacific in the future. So it's forecast to be quite active in the next 2 weeks. You can see below average rainfall probabilities in the main development region, which doesn't bode well for tropical development, which means a lot of dry air. It kind of normalizes out towards the week 3. So maybe we'll be seeing the tropics in the main development region wake up a little bit more as time goes on. We have currently a 10% chance of this low pressure system developing. This is as of 2 a.m. We're recording this at 5 a.m. And there'll be another update at 8 a.m. I don't really anticipate anything changing, but we'll see. And I usually show this too. This is the European and experimental models output. They're still latching on. Maybe something out here in the North Atlantic, and this is that low pressure that we have there right now. Doesn't really show it doing much. You see a bunch of different stuff in the Eastern Pacific, and maybe hinting at something. A couple different low pressures maybe developing in the tropical convergence zone through that period we talked about. Not really showing much right now, at least in the Atlantic. The Pacific looks to get quite active though. So I'm going to go over one of the ensembles outputs so we can see we'll go back to the tropical Atlantic, excuse me, north. Okay, so we have go through time here, start at 0, go to the latest run. Okay, there we are. So ensemble, you see that low pressure it tries to develop out here. It looks pretty impressive as far as number of members that agree, but I don't know if that's going to be truly tropical or not. It looks to be quite elongated and never really gets its act together. We move through time. This is 29th. Yeah, something maybe down here in the main development region. It tries to latch onto and bring through the Caribbean, but it really isn't showing anything developing. Although as you get this far out, you can see you don't really want to go past this because it's not really reliable. Stuff all over the place, you can see. Anyway, for the Atlantic, remains to be seen if anything forms. But in the short term, I'm not that convinced anything is going to form along the Gulf Coast. But you never know. Main impacts, of course, will be heavy rain and possibility heavy rain right on the coast. That's about it. So.